Well, welcome back everybody to another edition of Lemon Branch DIY. Today we're working on power raking. So a lot of people get a little confused on what's the difference between power raking, dethatching. Should I air rake? Should I power rake? Do I need both? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Power raking and dethatching are one and the same. The power rake is designed to get all the thatch up. It's also a dethatcher. So those are kind of synonymous with each other. So the difference between aeration and power raking is you're tackling two different areas of your lawn. So aerating is where you actually do the plugs. You punch holes, you get all the plugs up, and that allows air and water to go deep into the soil. Power raking is a little bit different. Power raking, we're just dealing with the top of the root system. And so what we're gonna do is use a power rake. And how it works is, it's just like, think of a traditional rake with tines that go straight into the ground, and you pull a rake, right? This is the similar, but there's a whole bunch of tines is what they're called. Those are the blades. They're about ½ an inch apart, and there's a series of them underneath this machine. They're gonna go vertically. So what we can do is set the machine at different heights depending on how thick the grass is or how deep we want to go. Usually, if this is your grass, you want to just go to the top of the root system like this and scrape out any of the dead. Some of it's organic, some of it could be just trash, debris, but a lot of it is going to be dead grass that turns into thatch. Now, a little bit of thatch is good because it'll help maintain some moisture in your soil. But when you start getting the thatch layer too thick, it can actually create a thick enough membrane that fertilizer, other product that you're putting on your lawn won't penetrate down into the roots, or perhaps more importantly, it can start to choke out your lawn. So if you look at our lawn here, you can see there's a lot of yellow, a lot of dead. Now this is early in the spring that we're doing this. This is March. And so what we want to do is get after it a little bit early so that the grass has a chance to grow in and fill in. But you will notice how it is all matted down, and there's a lot of underlayment right now. So during the early springtime or in fall is a good time to do the power raking. Yep. Okay, so you just saw kind of the process of what the power rake will do. Is it brings up all of the thatch. You can see it just leaves clumps of it all over the lawn. So this needs to be dealt with. You can't just leave it on the lawn or it'll just kind of choke things out. It can create other issues that introduce different lawn diseases, things like that. So as soon as it's done, you need to get it up. So there's a couple ways that you can do it. You can either rake it, or if you have an area that's just not a ton of thatch, you can actually mow it with a bag. So if you had a mower with a bag on it, you can suck it up. But in this case, where we're getting so much up, the mower will kind of bog down. So the best way to do it is just kind of rake it up. Now, I will show you, as we start to rake up, you think, oh my gosh, look at all of this dead that's come up. And in some areas it will be thin, but in some areas you'll see, like right here, all the good stuff is still there. But what you can see now is down into the dirt. You can see right to the top of the roots. Now, what's good about that is this is now all prepped and ready to go, so that if you put down any fertilizer, the water, any of that is gonna now go right to the root system. You don't have to do power raking that often. I usually recommend doing it every other year, every 2 to 3 years. But here's the caveat on that. It depends on the kind of grass you have. If you've got your Kentucky blues, some of the rye, some of the fescues, those are gonna be about every other, maybe 2 to 3 years. If you've got some of the Bermuda grasses, depending on the climate that you're in, some of those they tend to produce a little bit more thatch. So if they're a little bit thicker blade grass, sometimes they can really produce a lot more. But you just kind of have to watch it. The grass, you will see the symptoms when you see all of this dead yellow, then that's an indication that it's nice and thick. There's no disease in it. It just needs to be power raked. Now, one thing that I always caution everybody before you do it, it will thin things out a little bit, as you can see. There's a couple areas that are a little bit thin. But once you fertilize and you water, we will come back and show in a couple weeks kind of what this looks like. It only takes just a few weeks, and you will be amazed at how fast this rejuvenates, how fast it comes back in. It'll come back in more healthy, thicker, greener, all that good stuff that you want.
Like we talked about, is to go over it with a lawnmower. It does take a couple of times though to get over it and fill the lawnmower back up. Spending the time to rake it with a large leaf rake like we showed will get you the deeper, cleaner end result. Alright, you can see how we have the grass piled up where I've raked it so far. And then it's just like bagging leaves. Pile it up in black garbage bags, or if you have a garden or somewhere that you want to use it as some mulch or top dressing, that works. Another technique though, you can see, Mr. Brax, we've done a lot of lawns. He's tired of raking, and so he was first using the mower, but we do have a ton of thatch today. And so it bogs down the mower. You can use it, you just have to go over it a number of times and it fills up your bag really fast. So another way to do it is just like when you do leaf cleanup, use the blower, a high-powered blower, blow it all into one big pile, and then bag it up just like you would a big pile of leaves as well.
So we've got all the power raking done in the backyard. We've got them all into piles, and there's a lot of different ways that you can actually clean up the thatch. In my opinion, the best way is just good old elbow grease. You just got to rake it up. The rake will pull more up, get it all up into piles. Now that they're kind of in these piles, now we'll get them into garbage bags and then just into our garbage can. So we got everything cleaned up, raked up, bagged up, and it's hauled out of here, and this is the end result. So you can see it turned out pretty good. It's actually nice and clean. It fluffed everything up. All of the dead and bad stuff is gone. And now what we're left with is, it looks a little thin in a few areas. Now that is to be expected with the power rake. It will take all that dead out. Now, you can do one of two things. You can fertilize it and just stick with your watering and things like that, and it will come back on its own. In some areas where it's really thin, or if it's been a couple years, it's not a bad idea to introduce some grass seed, and you could do some overseeding. And we'll tackle that in another video, but this is kind of what to expect. It is nice and clean and just gets you ready for the year. Like I said, you could also do this in the fall. That's another good time to do it. You just don't want to do it during the heat or the hot of the summer, because then it could really scorch your lawn and do some other damage. But other than that, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like it, make sure you hit that thumbs up and the subscribe button. And until next time, we'll have a good one.